Hi, I'm Brad. Uh, hey everyone, welcome to Q&A stream number, I don't know. No, you're not. True, I don't know what I am. Sorry that my hair, I'm probably be doing this. I know people hate when I do this during streams, but I'm gonna be doing it a lot. I need a haircut because I look like Coconut Head. Anyway, yeah, welcome. It's been a while, I think, since I've done one of these. No reason why, just haven't felt like, I don't know, sometimes I feel like doing these, especially when there's like, so here, when I do these streams, it's usually like, the amount of streams correlate to how much stuff there's been in like, the leaks and rumors and the VR hardware news stuff. When there's more stuff, I feel like I have the need to do these streams more, so I can like kind of give my explanation and stances of what's going on when things just get overwhelming, because there are times where things are overwhelming. But I don't feel like it's been like that recently. It's actually been very quiet, save for a few things. So I already see people saying please do it as much as possible. Again, if I came on a stream like this and like just there was nothing going on, I really don't know what I would talk about, and that horrifies me. I have anxiety for these streams a little bit. I like doing them, but at the same time, I'm always very nervous. I'm just gonna stop knowing what to talk about, and that's like one of my greatest fears when I do these streams. Anyway, I got a bunch of questions already on my email. This is just a very calm stream where we can go over a lot of the topics that I mean, a lot has happened since I've started this series, and my camera's already going out of focus. Let me fix that before my brain literally feels like it's melting. Hold on. Focus. Okay, thank God. Autofocus should be off now. But yeah, I've started a few series on YouTube since the last stream. I've started a VR chat, mostly VR chat. It's gonna be Neos Worlds next week because I got banned on VR chat. But a bunch of like, because the biggest thing with VR chat is people who are not in the VR chat culture, they don't really know what to do when they want to get into VR chat, right? And for me, the thing that really got me into VR chat was really just finding friends that knew what worlds to take me to, which worlds are like basically all the maps and stuff that you would go into VR chat. So I thought, there's not many VR YouTubers that are doing like world showcases where they, you know, for people that are not in the VR chat know, at least if they go into VR chat alone or they have at least one friend, they'll know where to go, right? So that was the point of that series, but I got banned from VR chat. So next week I'll be doing some worlds from Neos. And there's actually some cool worlds in Neos. Like I've kind of put Neos on the back burner because there's been some weird drama stuff going on with the dev team with that. But you know, it's not. You can separate the platform from the drama usually. And I also started a VR news series. If you haven't seen a few of those have been doing pretty well, I would actually say. I'm happy with how they're doing. They're not like insane views, but if a video like if my news channel videos get like 10K per video, I'm pretty happy because those are very long, boring videos, honestly. But I do put a lot of effort into the talking about the topics in that video and put a lot of research. So those are, I like those. But I only make them again when there's stuff to talk about. There was nothing to talk about this week, so there was no news video this week. Yes. Banned? I was banned. Okay, so you know, I just said I started a new series on VR chat, right? Worlds, where I record myself playing the worlds in the hopes of getting people into VR chat. Well, basically, a VR chat dev saw my video, and I guess they noticed I was using a visual tweak mod, which I didn't even know I had on. Like, I have not been using like any mods in VR chat, but I had some left over from I guess like maybe a year ago when I first added mods to VR chat, and I didn't even know it was like a visual tweak, but I guess a VR chat knew, and they banned me because of it was shown in the video. So yeah, I'm an illegal criminal. obviously I have very powerful stances on that. I mean, if you look at my channel, you know what type of person I am. I talk about Linux, I talk about modding, I talk about PC VR. Obviously, my stances on modding for things are generally not going to be aligning with the VR chat developers, but I respect that they have their own stance, I guess, even if I don't disagree with it. Whatever. So yeah, that's why I'm banned. It's only 14 days, it's not a big deal, but it kind of sucks because I got banned right when they added avatar dynamics, and I was already really enjoying the OSC update for VR chat, which OSC, I've been like, I got my eye and face tracking for my avatar working, and that's been awesome. And then avatar dynamics came out, and the only reason I noticed I got banned was because I was already hopping into Unity when that came out, and I couldn't log into the VRChat SDK, and I was like, oh god, what's going on? And then I found out, oh, I was banned for 14 days, so I can't even do anything with the avatar dynamics really in Unity, or like test my avatar with that stuff, or, you know, it was unfortunate timing. Yeah. Modding makes you a baddie. Yeah, I guess so, you know. Mod responsibly, I guess, yeah. Alright, anyway, there's one thing I want to show you guys before we start the stream. I literally just got this yesterday. Someone who works in the industry sent this to me. You won't be able to see really what it is, but I have a video. Let me pull up that video. This is really cool. I'm really excited I got this. I'm gonna pull up the video right here. Hold up. So remember that Imagine Optics company I've made a ridiculous amount of videos with? This is a video I took. This is a sample of their geometric phase lenses. Those lenses I've always talked about in my videos. Like the ones that could, like, if done correctly, they can enable Varifocal if they're stacked with each other and stuff. And like, here was just me, like, I pulled up a Valve patent related to one of their Imagine Optics patents that they probably grabbed, and you can see in the video there's like two, I guess you can call it two zooms, right? You can see like one is closer. Oh, come on. One like right here. You see right here, this is like very like zoomed in, but at the same time you can also see the non-zoomed portion, right? So this is supposed to work with something called circular polarized light. Obviously when I'm doing this like in front of paper or anything in real life, you're not getting any polarized light generally. And if you are getting polarized lights, you're most likely getting linear polarized light, like LCDs use and stuff. So I have to figure out, I want to do stuff with this, like even if it's small little mad science experiments, because I mean, this is cool, right? This is awesome. This is the company that was purchased by Meta recently. Valve funded them years back, and like they do make neat little things. But you can just kind of get an idea, like, hey, these are two different, like. So when you're pumping polarized light through these, and you can also make it so you can apply a charge to each layer to turn it off or on, right? So if you had polarized light controlled and also a voltage applied, you can have the lens only show one of these states, either the far one or the close one. And you can make these lenses like at different distances and like stack on top of each other with different different layering, because they on this is actually, it has liquid crystal materials, like it's embedded on the lens itself, and that's what makes this cool effect happen. But yeah, you apply a voltage, you turn it on and off, and it would switch between these states. And if you stack a bunch of these, which you can see, this is super. Actually, this is another good thing. Hold up, I should have had this ready. Sorry. Oh no, where is it? Where is it? Dang it! I don't know where I put it. I really wanted to. I don't know where I put it. I had a lens. I had my lens cup from my Vive laying around here. I was gonna compare the thinness of these lenses. This is also called a flat lens, which there's a whole that's a whole genre of lenses. Most lenses use geometrical lenses, which is confused. Geometric lens, which are usually like a spherical, or like Fresnel are kind of counted in that. But this is flat, and you can see why. It's literally a flat lens. So if very thin, can do a lot of cool stuff thanks to the special birefringence coating on them, and I'm really excited that someone sent me that. Anyway, sorry. Yeah. Polarized light in nature is most often from reflections, and yeah, it's for, yeah, exactly. So I gotta figure out, again, I just gotta figure out a way to, like, find a, polarizer that, emits circular polarized lights, and then maybe figure out what cool experiments to do with this, because I think this is awesome. Like, again, it's just from the company that I've covered in videos and, like, you know, research, and it's just cool to have something in your house or in your room that you can look at and just be reminded what it does. So yeah, a few more things I wanted to kind of show off before we start with the questions. Is that a desk chair armrest? Yeah, it is. My desk chair is very shaky. My desk chair arms are very shaky and loud, so I always pull them off before I do a video. Like, I literally just rip them out and throw them on the floor before I do a video or stream, so it doesn't annoy people, because it gets annoying. This is like a Walmart chair or something. It's not fancy, but it's okay. Okay. No, not that. Valve's been pretty busy. Like, we know Valve's been busy, but Valve's been especially busy this week, and there's a few, I like to show off these secret app IDs because they're very interesting usually. Also, another thing, if you're interested in Valve software and not Valve hardware, I recommend going to Tyler McVicker, who just did a video this week on a big data mining for Aperture Desktop. Aperture Desktop, I don't know why I have trouble saying that with those words together. It is a tech demo that was built by Valve for the Steam Deck, right? It's only 20 minutes long, but usually it's built in Source 2. And whenever something like that releases for Source 2, Valve always leaves in a ton of strings. Like, that's what they do. They do it for Steam VR beta updates. They do it for everything they do. And he works with a lot of community members who just gather all the new strings. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff. So if you're interested in that, check out his video on that. He did a very good job. But I want to talk about hardware as always. And yeah, we're finally getting some. Wait, is this updated? Make sure it's updated. Yeah, so we're finally, main Steam VR is the internal build of Steam VR. It's, I have a whole Twitter thread where I always, like, kind of post updates of when Valve is updating internally or externally Steam VR. And finally we're getting some work done. So hopefully we'll get a new beta update, because we just had a stable update that was a push of a beta to stable, but ended up adding a lot of bugs for some users, so they had to spend some time fixing those bugs. But these will probably be a new beta update, which usually when there's like a whole new beta update, there's usually a lot, like, new stuff to data mine more than normal. So I hope that's true. But that's not really what I wanted to bring attention to this application right here. I think I might have talked about this application once on the channel before. Wait, is this the right one? No, not this one. Hold up. It's called, it's this one. Sorry, it's this one. Yeah, I brought this app up once before on the channel. But just to remind you, this is a very interesting app, and I'm going to show you why. If we scroll down here, right after a token was added to it, a change list happened, and it was updated with one other application, which is this this Steam sub here. And when you click the Steam sub, you'll notice that attached to this Steam sub is Steam VR hardware tech scenes content. This is related to internal stuff that Valve uses to test hardware for their VR stuff, right? And when you see, usually when you see like a change list like this, where two things are updating at the same time, usually that means there's a connection between them. And this mystery app was added 2 years ago. It goes through these weird changes, like you can see it had a huge amount of changes this week, all in one day. They just did a ton of stuff to it all in one day. But it goes through these like dry periods where it's like it's been 3 months and then they updated a ton. It's been like, 4 months here. So it's a very, I believe this app is definitely related to internal VR hardware workings of some sort. I don't know what it could be, but because the fact that it's tied with that hardware scenes, it's something I pay attention to quite a lot, because I think it's very important. Probably more important than all the other unknown apps I've shown on my channel. So very cool. The music is a bit loud, sorry. I'm very bad at audio. yeah, so that's pretty much, I think that's everything I really wanted to talk about. Yeah. All right, let's go into questions. I'm going to read questions. So I asked people beforehand. Let me also unpin this tweet because it's not useful anymore. Oh, actually, I got a lot of questions now on... Wait, is this updated? Yeah, I think I actually did get a lot of questions related to stuff on my email now. So I'm going to go through my email questions first, if you don't mind. And then when we have time... I'm not going to spend too much time on these questions, or at least try to. And then we'll do chat questions. So, yeah, bear with me. Bear with me. Thank you. All right. So this is from William. Updated cost predictions for both Apple and Cambria. So one thing I never like to guess, and so when I first started, I had to talk about this real quick actually. When I first started this channel, or not this channel, but like this work I do for the channel, which comes to like talking to supply chains people, people in Asia, and like data mining for future hardware stuff, I was really immature and bad at it. And there was two things I learned from all the failures I had while I was immature at this. One thing is never guess price, ever, and never guess release date without really good evidence. And even when there's good evidence of a release date, be very careful because those things are very changeable. But yeah, so this is someone asking for my predictions for cost for Apple and Cambria. I will give opinions, but I do not honestly know, because these companies, especially when you take into the fact of Meta, where they're known to subsidize hardware to build their platform up faster, it's very hard to guess. But I would say Cambria, I would be shocked if it's not $800 range, around there. I feel like that would be a good number for that headset, like the stuff that they're putting in it. If they really wanted to get people on that platform, it would be $600. But yeah, $600, $800 is my guess for Cambria. But that's like, again, I don't know. Apple is expensive though. Apple is a freaking expensive headset. I would not be surprised if that headset releases for $2,000, like around that range at all. I would not be shocked by that. The hardware they're packing into that thing is genuinely like next generation hardware. I can talk about micro OLED displays all the time. I even have it on this cup. This says OLED micro displays, and like that's a big deal. Like I really do. You know, it's become a meme on this channel where like if other content creators like to poke fun at it too, which I'm glad they do. If someone says OLED micro displays or micro OLED, I just appear, right? And that's what I wanted, because I really do believe that that technology is going to take over VR fast and hard when it's like mass produced in quantities. I believe that most headsets that are in like the mid to high end will want to use that display technology. And when a very high quality OLED micro display headset comes out from like Apple or Meta or Valve, people will not want to go back to LCD. That's my belief. So when I make it a meme on my channel of OLED micro displays, I want people to think about me being crazy with that technology. So whenever they hear the word, when a company announces OLED micro displays, my big fat head pops in their brain. It's like free advertising for me. But yeah, anyway. This question I like a lot though, this next question. Qualcomm, I do like Qualcomm. Yeah, I like Qualcomm too. That's a good meme. Why is PSVR 2 not going with pancake lenses? The main reasons, okay, there's actually a lot of different reasons why they're not. One, so PSVR 2 is definitely cutting costs when it comes to lenses. Not to say that it's going to be a bad lens experience or anything. They got a pretty good advertised FOV. It's respectable. But the main reasons, other than cost, that they're not going with pancake lenses is because they're going with standard OLED displays. And I will say that their OLED displays that they're putting in the headset are actually special too. They're not micro OLED, which again, the biggest difference between OLED and micro OLED is what they're built on. Regular OLED is built on glass, and micro OLED is built on silicon wafers. And both OLEDs for a while have an issue with something called brightness, right? OLEDs are getting brighter. Like most smartphones get around 1,000 nits these days, which is good for smartphones. But that is not good for VR headsets that want to use pancake optics, because pancake optics polarize the light. Excuse me. And they also bounce the light back and forth a couple times, and in that process, they actually lose a lot of light. Yeah, and Sony's very special making these OLED displays, which are higher PPI than most even mobile smartphones on the market, so they are special, and they also are rated for HDR. HDR has a bunch of reasons what makes a display HDR, but one of them is brightness. So Fresnel lenses, they don't really lose that much light at all, actually. And to reach like actual HDR VR content, if they used like a pancake lens, they wouldn't even be able to reach that, at least the brightness rating for HDR, if they use pancake. So it makes sense for what Sony's doing with PSVR 2, because they want to make their headset affordable. Again, you gotta buy a PS5 with it, so those are the main reasons: cost, and because brightness and like HDR and stuff. I don't think people are going to hate that headset, by the way. I think it's going to be very good for the cost. If it does end up releasing next year, which I still really doubt, because again, I hear that Goretech is working so hard right now on the supply lines for PSVR 2, unless Sony wants to stockpile the headsets that are made, which I don't know. It's kind of a bizarre thing to do. I think it's going to be a great headset hardware-wise, even though it has like a unremovable wire and stuff. I think it's going to be good for what it's targeted to do. It's just a simple VR headset you plug into a console in your living room. Yeah. PSVR 2, honestly, PSVR 2, I think it needs to be like $400. If it's more than $400, I think they're gonna struggle a bit. I would argue, because you're competing against Meta and Quest 2 and stuff. I don't know. What do I know though? Who knows? I don't know anything about price again. That's just like opinion. All right, next question. Magic Leap inside out cams on controllers. Oh yeah, that's a good. Oh, I should pull this up. Okay, let me make sure. Magic Leap controller. Yes, we'll just pull up this random website. Yeah, so this image was posted on Twitter, and it's very exciting, especially if you follow Cambria leaks. So this is Magic Leap 2. It is an actual see-through AR, VR, or not VR, sorry, it's an actual see-through AR headset. It's targeted for enterprise, and yeah, it's using cameras built into the actual controller, so it's able to map its own positioning in space and everything, just like the Cambria controllers. I mean, the Cambria controllers, I was going to pull up the Cambria controllers, but they basically look just like this, except there's two of them. And people, this question is, why is it a good or bad idea? The best reason why companies are wanting to do this is because you don't have a dead zone anymore. If you have a Quest 2, which still has the rings, you put it behind your head. The only thing that's on for tracking in that controller is the IMU, which is like kind of like a compass, inertial measurement unit. Every controller has these IMUs, but the issue with IMUs is they drift over time. So when it's out your position, it can tell that you're moving it, but it can't tell the exact position. So when you put it back in front of your head, what Oculus does, or what Meta does, is they actually use software to kind of guesstimate like everything put together. A very smart algorithm that they have going on there. But if you put controllers on, or you put cameras on the controllers, you don't have to worry about that anymore. The controllers will have their own like small, like I'm guessing same here, but I know the Cambria controllers have like their own Snapdragon 600 series chips, which are very old chips, but are fine for what they need. So they are doing their own internal processing. They can actually probably map their own environments, and they're also sending that data to a special unit that's built into the headset itself, which basically connects all that data and maps your room. The one thing I'm very curious about these sort of concepts with the cameras on the controllers is really, are they aiding also in stuff like if you want to like 3D map a room with like actual textures and stuff? Is that being done, or is that a little too sensitive? I'm not really sure, and they're probably they're probably too low res for that. But it's a good idea. It's got to be hard though. Like I feel like the software algorithms you have to push to make this work are way harder than the rings even. And even companies, the biggest thing that Meta controllers have over a lot of other companies that release standalone headsets is a lot of these algorithms they use for their inside-out tracking are bad. Like they're really, really bad, and you notice them right away. And Meta's been very good about that. So yeah, this is going to become a new common. Don't feel like this company is stealing this idea from Meta. I always try to explain this to people. A lot of companies will do stuff based on reference designs that are shown by other companies, and then they'll just like kind of put their own take and their own like algorithms into it. So neither company is stealing ideas from each other. It's just they're all probably using a very similar reference design, and then making it work. So yeah. Yes. Yeah, mapping now. I changed my mind. As soon as I was talking about it, I was like, yeah. But yeah, this will have its own SLAM. They can do their own SLAM, which is cool. Some people also wonder if these controllers would be good enough to... So, there's a lot of research done on headsets like the Quest 2. Could they do full-body tracking with just the cameras in the headset? And the biggest problem of why it couldn't happen, other than just processing speed and everything, is occlusion. Like there's a lot of body types, right, in the world, and sometimes, especially as these headsets get thinner, which they will get thinner a bit, you won't be able to see your feet sometimes with some people. So I'm wondering if this is another reason why companies like Meta, for example, which is very interested in like social applications for XR, why they're trying to go with this, because maybe they can get the algorithms and the cameras and the software so good enough that even if the headset cameras can't see your feet, when you're holding your controllers around, that will be able to see your feet one day. Hi Baker. So that's one of my curiosities. I should say, is it a bad idea? No. The only downside for these controllers is because they have onboard processing, they're gonna be sucking out a lot of battery life. So, you know, with the Quest 2 controllers, you put in a AA battery and it lasts for months. That's no more. That's not happening. Even the Cambria controllers do have rechargeable batteries built in, not removable batteries. So if you like that about your Quest 2, you're not going to like that about Cambria, but that's just the reality. Is there's a lot more processing and data power being used by these types of controllers. So yeah. Yep. Anyway. Alright, last question from William. How much of the M1 could Apple realistically get away with based on heat battery in their set, now that we've seen ultra variation? So I actually just posted a tweet about this yesterday. I talked to people on the supply chain. Okay, let me just say something real quick. If I post a tweet like this, if I post a Twitter thread like this, where it's like, will have, that is not me making a prediction. That is me splurging information I got from someone, usually from Asia, especially because Asia is very good sources for these informations, because they work in supply chains and they're tasked with, you know, mass producing everything for Apple and Meta and whatever. So Apple's headset is going to be using a base M2 chip. So it's going to be similar to the M1 chip, except it's going to be a lot more, it'll get a much better performance per watt. But from what I understand is it's not supposed to be that different than M1, just more power effective, which is good for you know, that's good for a VR headset that wants to push power and use less, or push more performance and use less power. That makes more sense. But they're not going to be using like a higher variant like Ultra that was announced recently, I think. What is it like? What is the M1 series? It's like, I know there's Max and Ultra. There's another one in there. But the difference between all of those is they basically make the actual chip bigger, and add more transistors on the board and everything. The Apple headset is going to be using just like a base M2 chip, and they're also pairing it with something called codenamed Bora, which is going to be very similar to this was another thing. Apple just had an event this week, and they announced an actual display. It's just an LCD display, but the interesting thing about this LCD display is they have an A series chip, which the A series chips power their iPhones, and that A series chip, all it's doing, at least right now, is there's an onboard camera on the display, and there's Dolby Atmos speakers and everything, and that chip is handling all that camera and audio data for the computer that's plugged into. Which is kind of like splitting up the tasks, like offloading the task on that A series chip and letting the M series chip to the computer it's plugged into do the more extreme tasks, right? That is basically the same concept that Apple's planning to do with their VR headset. They're going to have a big M2 series chip, and then they're going to have a smaller A-type series chip that's focused on like camera sensor data with all like the eye tracking and like all the mapping and everything. And they're going to be working in unison together, which it's funny because when I'm watching these events, I don't really care much about what they're announcing at these events, but I'm like, man, that I see this display, I'm like, that's from their Apple XR R&D. Like, because, you know, when a company does R&D, it goes both ways, right? So that's stupid. That's neat. And for people that's wondering, like, wow, can they even put an M2 chip in a VR headset? Well, again, this week they announced their new iPad Air has an M1 chip in it. And it was also found out that the M1 chip is not even being throttled. They're using every single core from the M1 chip in their new iPad, which iPads don't even have cooling. Isn't that crazy? Like, that blows my mind a little bit. The Apple headset apparently is going to be using cooling, though. So, yeah. Do you know if there's still an ongoing collaboration between Apple and Valve? I love that question. I still believe that they're teamed up for certain things in the hardware scene. In fact, I still believe that Valve's... Okay, so again, this is like I made a whole video about this, and I still pretty much believe most of the stuff I said in that video. And my belief is Valve and Apple had very similar ideas of what they wanted to push for the XR industry in terms of hardware. So they kind of teamed up on like getting different technologies pushed, right? One of the things I really do believe that they work together on is trying to get micro OLED, like the micro OLED displays that they want pushed, and like there's technologies out there, but getting these giant fabs like TSMC or whoever they're working on that would actually deposit the OLED onto micro OLED, you have to have a lot of push, right? To get companies to develop new technologies and mass produce them. So I think Apple and Valve probably talked with each other a lot and said, Valve was like, hey, we really want this, but we're Valve, we're a new hardware company. We don't really have much push-pull with the fabrications and stuff. So maybe we can work together, right? You're Apple. You literally, anything you want, TSMC will literally beg you for their business, right? So I think for micro OLED, that is definitely the case. If I go back to, I talked about a company called Imagine, which I believe is very involved in consumer micro OLED. They have a technology called DPD, and I had this ready just in case this question came out. So an SEC document was published yesterday from. They basically, an SEC handles all like the Securities and Exchange Commission, and they just did their like yearly review. And one thing that they posted in their yearly review SEC document is they gave a timeline of all their consumer ventures, and in 2017, which is around the same time also that Valve made that comment that, like, remember, I actually reposted this video. So there was an interview that Tyler McVicker went to Valve in 2017, and he had an interview with the Valve VR team. Joe Ludwig was there, Gaben was there, Coomer was there, and Gaben made a lot of comments that are kind of meme today. But one of the things he said was that VR displays are going to reach resolutions that other displays won't be able to reach. Like, VR displays are gonna be way ahead of every other display types, and that was in 2017. And in 2017 is they wrote that. Let me zoom out real quick so you can read all of it. Imagine entered into agreements with tier 1 companies to develop a new display design for virtual reality and scale our DPD technology. The big thing I want to point out here is they say tier 1 companies, plural. So there was clear. So I didn't even know this actually when I originally first researched this Imagine company, was that I thought it was just Valve that was pushing this 4K display design, which I've talked many times before, a 4K OLED micro display. But it seems like this was a combination of multiple companies that are large. Tier 1 means large companies like Apple, Google, those types of companies. So they entered in agreements with it was a partnership of a lot of big companies to make a 4K display and also make DPD technology, which is a type of OLED micro display technology, actually mass producible someday. So when you ask me, will Apple and Valve work together, or are they still working together? I think at least for the display side, they work together and they're still very involved in wanting to use very similar display technology. So, Imagine. Okay, that's another thing. This lens I showed earlier in the stream, this is from a company called Imagine Optics. Imagine Optics. They only make lenses. They are now purchased by Meta. This I'm showing off is an OLED micro display company called Imagine. It starts with the letter E, not an I. Very confusing, and a lot of people don't get confused a lot in my videos in the comments sections, but those are two different companies. Imagine also up until this point has been making these displays for only the military for 20 years, which is very common when you have a company work on military applications. Generally, military technology eventually makes its way to consumers, and this is kind of what we're seeing here. So, yes. All right. Yeah, does that make sense? 480 hertz VR win? I have no idea. I think the biggest issue with it seems like the industry is very focused on resolution right now, with around the same refresh rates of what we have, like 120 to 144 hertz seems to be like the baseline right now, but they're wanting to push the resolution up. And you can't do both at the same time because there's bandwidth issues at that point, right? Like if you raise both at the same time, you're not going to be able to get that data throughput through the wire and everything. So yeah. How close am I to my 100K? Like 80 subs away. Something like that. All right, next question. Why is Apple creating their own operating system for VR when everyone else is running on Linux/Windows? Well, it's like how Meta made their own. Well, okay. Meta took Google Android and made it their own, right? Which is very common in like Android smartphones. Everyone has their own version of Android. Meta was wanting to make their own operating system for VR and AR, but that project was canceled. Like, confirmed, completely canceled. They wanted to build an OS from the ground up completely, which would have been very hard, honestly, and very expensive. And yeah, they canceled it. The person that was leading that task force ended up going to Google because he did not like what he heard from the Facebook whistleblowing stuff that happened last year on like 60 Minutes and stuff. So yeah, why is Apple creating their own operating system? Because they're trying to benefit the ecosystem, always. That's what every company's doing. Every company makes an operating system to benefit their ecosystem. Apple is making something based on Mac OS, just like iOS is based on Mac OS, because they want all their operating systems to tie together and work together and all this stuff. Microsoft is working on a headset. They will have it be running on Windows, or at least a version of Windows as well, because that's their bread and butter, Windows, right? Valve wants to make a headset run on Linux, SteamOS. And the main reason they want that, I would say, is because they have this giant library of games, the Steam store, which is reliant on x86. And it's just a lot more... Linux is a lot more... it matches with their values and like what they need to do to push their ecosystem more. Even if you didn't know this, but Valve is also very close to releasing Steam for Chromebooks. That's called Project Borealis, and they're very close to releasing Steam for Chromebooks, which is loosely based on Linux as well. So, yeah, it's all about benefiting the strengthening the platform of each company. It's not surprising at all that they're doing this. Yeah, see, it's like, yeah, it's actually, yeah, it's to get their ecosystem in the headset, exactly. That's the main reason. It's gonna be very interesting to see how they do it, because I would say that so again, Meta uses Android, and their operating system UI is really god awful. Like this is coming from someone who's a Steam VR, which the Steam VR UI is also pretty god awful. I'm not gonna hide that, but like it feels like the Android or the Meta OS UI team is just a bunch of different teams working in different things, and then a new update comes out and they completely change something. It just is more confusing than the last update. I'm imagining that because they're just completely shutting down their own XROS project and relegating those members to actually work on the Android stuff better, I would hope that they get their thing together, because whatever Apple releases for UI is going to be very easy to use. So yeah. Let me drink real quick. It really is getting worse with time. The biggest thing I noticed with the Meta OS or the Meta UI that really triggered me is I think the settings used to be on the bottom UI bar, right? So no matter where you were, you click the system button, the settings button would be there. Easy. Then some bright idea within the offices decided the settings should be an app, so you have to click an extra button to get into settings. That was the first sign for me that this is not something I'm going to enjoy in the future. Like that drove me nuts. That drove me insane. Oh, what music is playing in the background? This is the soundtrack for Norwood Suite. The Norwood Suite official soundtrack. Alright. Setting as an app is how Apple do it. Yeah, I just think so. It makes sense for I don't even like it, but with with Apple phones, even that's true. You do have like and Android like phones have this too, where even though that settings is an app on iOS, there's a small settings menu that you can swipe up instantly. One interaction. Same with Android, they have the same thing. There's nothing like that for VR settings. So I think removing that one-click settings from the menu, which was the only way to access settings easily, is not. I don't like that. I'm someone who has to click the settings menu for everything, every app I open. So yeah. Yeah, I just by the way, I do have an iPhone. I don't like my iPhone. I've said this in previous streams, but I also use Android most of the time, and my biggest issues with Apple is not really anything to do with their settings too much. So that's a good thing, at least. All right. All right, here's the next question for my email. I'm just trying to get through these. Okay, actually, I keep getting more emails, so I might have to just go through all these email questions. I don't know how long this stream's gonna be. I'm sorry. You've given in-depth analyses and speculation of upcoming VR headsets, but you really never talked about them in the context of comparison beyond target price. What features do you think Deckard will or won't have over Cambria, etc.? So the question is, could you give a comparison where you think the companies largely differ in their product designs? That's a great question, actually. So I think Meta is very, and they actually said this last week. Zuckerberg went on an interview and said this. Meta, even though that they are trying to push AR and VR gaming a little bit, their primary focus over everything else is telepresence, social VR. So you're gonna notice that every headset they release, if they can, they're gonna be putting eye trackers, face trackers, as like everything they can, literally. Like that's very important to them, is social presence in AR VR. But I also think they're going to also be kind of so let me just say one thing. I think all the big companies that are hopping into XR right now, which there's a lot of them, like seriously, they're all trying to make AR through VR pass-through headsets. I think there's going to be a little bit of differences at the beginning of what hardware they have, but I really feel like they're going to diverge into one very similar hardware product between everything. Sure, they're going to look different and they're going to be running different operating systems, but I think the features are going to be relatively the same. I imagine they're all going to be using very similar display systems, very similar lens systems. It kind of depends on what price category they want to target, right? Meta wants to target low end mostly and like mid to high recently. Whereas I think Apple's going to constantly be on high end. I think Valve is constantly going to be on high end. Microsoft, I'm not really sure where they're targeting, but I think they're going to also be closer to mid to high end as well. But the one thing with Meta, it's always going to be face and eye tracking, stuff that enables social features. With Valve, it's always going to be about gaming. That's one thing for sure. With Valve, they're going to focus on gaming stuff, things that can like push their games to better heights. They're very, I mean, they're a gaming company, right? So that makes sense. Sony's always going to probably target the lower end to boost their PlayStation platform. So they're also going to be gaming focused, but like the thing is with Sony is they like always want to push all things of their hardware ecosystem. Like they want to like push their headphones, they want to push their TVs, they want to push all these things together. So I'm not sure that they're kind of an odd one. Apple's always going to be doing a lot of different. Apple's purely gonna be focusing on AR, I think, as much as they can. They're very big on AR for sure. So again, they're all gonna have very similar hardware. They're all gonna have eye tracking. That's the one thing I think every headset's gonna have from these big companies moving forward. But the differences are not gonna be that many. They're gonna maybe have different resolutions and stuff, and like different audio systems. But really, I don't think there's gonna be too many differences between them. Yeah. The funny thing is Meta focused on social VR, but it has not nearly the amount of users. So yeah, that's Can we talk about that? So the big reason that VR chat is so successful is because it's on the PC platform. Honestly, that is honestly why it's so successful. The processing power that is required to do the things in VR chat are way more intensive than anything that Quest 2 can run, for example. And the reason why Meta's social platforms are so lackluster more than anything else is because of that. They're working on custom silicon and everything, but you're noticing with Apple. So Apple, I really like to compare what Apple's working on with what Valve's working on because it's very similar. Apple wants to make a headset running a desktop SoC, right? The M2 chip, M1 series, the same stuff that would run their desktop computers. Valve is the same. Their goal is to have a x86 chip so people can do PC VR in a standalone headset. That's both of their goals are the same, and they do that by pairing a larger chip with a smaller chip. That smaller chip handles all the sensor data, blah 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 blah. Whereas Meta, they seem to still be focusing on a single chip thing. Obviously, they have some other stuff on the board that FPGA is on Cambria. But even Cambria, I'm pretty shocked they're not looking into the same concept that Apple and Valve are. Maybe they are, but like they're limited by processing. They really are. And when these headsets come out, even if they're more expensive, I don't see why someone would buy a Cambria with the same processor as Quest 2. Sure, it's cooled better and has these other features. When headsets also in the high-end category, mid to high-end category, are trying to do this very more powerful configuration. So maybe Meta is working on it. I know they're working on a very custom chip with Qualcomm. So I wonder if that's more of a desktop grade chip. I wonder this all the time, actually. Like, would Meta work with Qualcomm to make a headset with one of their desktop grade chips paired with a smaller chip, similar to all these other companies seem to be doing, and which would allow them to also run the operating system that runs on Quest 2 and all their products, but with way more headroom, similar to how the iPad runs an M1 chip now, but yet still runs iOS. That might be something we see someday, but maybe not. Do you think Meta lacks the hardware knowledge? No, I don't. I think they have very talented hardware engineers. I just think no, I don't think they lack any knowledge at all. I just think it's a matter of time, and I think they focus a lot on cost-cutting measures, which makes sense because they're not in a position like Apple, for example, where people are willing to buy their products no matter what, right? Like, they have to release cheap stuff because their name is honestly like garbage. Like, no one wants to buy a Facebook product, which is why they had to change their name, right? And that's kind of like always been the issue, and probably why they've more worked on cost cutting to build an ecosystem rather than having the best features overall, or not the best features. They have great features, software features. They're very good at software, but the hardware features always felt to me a little like you could see all the cost cutting done here and stuff. So yeah. All right, let me continue the emails, otherwise I'll be here all day. How big is Cambria compared to Arpara 5K? So Arpara 5K is very small because literally all that's in the Arpara 5K is this. Oh, let me pull this up. Actually, this is a great moment to talk about this. I'm glad this person asked this. If you want to know the name of them, they're called GSD. Hold up. So all the Arpara mostly is these two of these, and this will load. So this website I'm loading is called SIA Technology. They are a display fab. They make micro OLED, not very good quality micro OLED, I would argue, but they sell their micro OLED with lenses like put together. So like an all-in-one solution for like small companies to just buy them in bulk and put them into a casing. So this is what like Arpara buys, for example. They buy a bunch of these, and then they stuff into a shell with a display motherboard thing, and that's pretty much it. Like, honestly, that's all Arpara is. And also the display board that they use in the Arpara is garbage, like really low quality, which is why they cannot even get near the resolution of what these displays are supposed to be. Like max refresh rate and everything. It's really because they choose a crappy display board. But yeah, they're just that, right? Cambria is smaller and thinner than the Quest 2 because they're using a pancake optics system, so they're able to slap the display and lens together. It's much thinner. So because of that, they don't have that giant lens cup that would be like this big in the headset, so they can use that space to pack in more stuff, more features, right? So Cambria will be much bigger than Arpara, but also smaller than Quest 2. and it will feel like that when you wear it. You're gonna see a lot of companies doing that, where they're taking advantage of the smaller lenses and the smaller displays, and they're packing in features. They're packing in higher, bigger SoCs, better cooling systems. Those are the two big things I think that are more important than anything else. And then they're gonna be packing in more cameras for eye tracking, face tracking, all that stuff. So, yeah. Thrillseeker just did an Arpara video saying a new micro OLED display is coming. Oh, you mean a new headset with micro OLED? Yeah, I have tried that one too. I know which one he's talking about, but I can't talk about that too. Unfortunate. Yes, that one is coming. This comes from Cyril. I will say the only reason that, okay, not the only reason. One of the reasons why I told people not to buy the Arpara is because I tried that headset Thrill was talking about, and I kept seeing people saying they wanted to buy Arpara. I'm like, man, if they just wait like some time and they bought Arpara, they're gonna be sad because they could have bought this one. So that was really the main reason I told people not to buy Arpara. So. I'm not allowed to say anything more, so don't ask me questions about it unless you want to get me in trouble. Let's see. Oh, this is someone that wants to do a private chat. Nope, not right now. Let's see. Questions for you. Alright, so this is from Fox. Is there any further development or spec leaks on Project Cambria? We know it uses pancake lenses, face and eye tracking, is wireless standalone, and uses mini LED. But things have been incredibly hush-hush on the FOV and or screen resolution in the release date. So one thing I actually found out about the device, and I was actually very, I was kind of, I'm going to pull up something for you guys as I explain this. Give me a second. Give me one moment. There is one feature that this email did not mention, and I made a very small YouTube short and tweet about it, but some people might have missed it, so let me go ahead and pull that up real quick. What is this called? Yeah, so, I saw this a long time ago on, can I zoom in? I saw this a long time ago in a data mine where we were able to data mine device trees for Cambria. And I kept seeing this reference to a Qualcomm haptics chip on the board. And it's connected to a power modulator and everything. So I was like, huh, that's weird. I don't think there's a haptics chip in the Quest 2. So I was like, I was scared to kind of give any predictions that this might have been like on headset haptics, because it could have been like something to boost the haptics in other devices like the controllers or something. I don't know. But like a month ago, I talked to one of my sources in Asia, which the reason why Cambria is hush hush is not because there's like no new leaks. It's because pretty much all the leaks tell what the device is, honestly, and they're just working on getting the they're very close to the final design. They're like on EV2 phase, very similar to Apple actually. I think there might be a little further actually than that. And there's a lot of these Cambria pre-production units actually floating around Asia as well, because what happens is they like Meta will work with companies in Asia that are tasked with getting all the pieces together, making sure everything's mass producible, and they had to give them like a pre-production unit to explain, this is the goal, this is what we want, right? So a lot of these supply chain people that work, they have these prototypes, and one of the things that these prototypes have, these near close to done prototypes, is onboard haptics, just like the PSVR 2. So I do believe that the Cambria will also have haptics built into the headset for whatever things they want to do with that. So that's another feature that if you missed it, that is something that is very likely to be in Cambria. So yeah. It wasn't because it used the Apple Nolo tracking. Okay, that was another reason. but like, then he's talking about Arpara, by the way. We're kind of back to the Arpara. Yeah, the Arpara eventually teamed up with Tundra Labs to make the Steam VR tracker. So then that got a lot more people interested in the device, right? In fact, I think when the Kickstarter first started for Arpara, the one that came with the Lighthouse tracker was the most popular configuration. And I was like, yeah, you people should just... Yeah. Alright, more questions? Any rumors, or how likely do you rate that Apple's HMD has PC support and or Steam VR integration? Given Valve's and Apple's partnership in the past, it at least seems tentatively possible. That's one of the things that I got really curious about myself, because Apple's like very closed down. But like at the same time, there is a lot of breadcrumbs leading them to working with Valve, but I don't know if it's hardware only. I like to, because I don't want to like inhale too much copium, I like to think that Apple is purely partnered for hardware reasons. And they won't let any other companies like Valve onto their very closed platforms. That doesn't mean though that maybe there will be like applications built for the HMD, like for example, virtual desktop or something that would allow you to access a PC and do like PC VR streaming. I'm not sure, but like, like I really don't know. It's like the software is a big mystery for the Apple HMD, honestly. Like hardware is easy to guess, but the software we have like not much information other than it's called Reality OS. It's based on like Mac OS, iOS. That's pretty much it. The new MacBooks are very open. Yeah. Honestly, if Apple really wanted to get serious, because so there's someone who only reports on Apple leaks, and not just VR, but like every Apple leaks. It's like Grumman, I think his name is. He talks a lot about how this VR headset that Apple's making is going to be focused on gaming, like one of the big focuses. And that like still shocks me, because Apple, like, they have Apple Arcade for their phones, but VR gaming, like when you're talking about VR gaming, that's a whole big thing to expect people to jump from simple mobile games to VR, like VR AAA, like, I'm assuming like AAA when you have specs like that, right? So if Apple really did want to get serious about gaming, and I do believe that VR and AR are like the next big thing for gaming. Maybe Apple couldn't do gaming compared to Xbox or PlayStation or anything, because they're just way behind. But maybe VR and AR is something that they feel they can actually start getting a hold of. Well, a partnership with Valve would be great for them to get more non-mobile gamers serious about their platform for gaming. But it's still just like, still so bizarre to my brain that he also said that they want it to be a device for game developers too, which when I hear that, it's even more confusing. Like I don't know, my brain doesn't understand that. But he literally only reports on Apple stuff, and he does a pretty good job for what I understand. I don't know, I don't really follow many Apple rumors except the VR stuff, so. Any word on Imagine? I talked a little bit about Imagine earlier in the stream. I just think that there is one thing I want to say about Imagine. Ever since I started reporting on Imagine and Valve and Apple and the 4K display, they have been so quiet in their conference calls. They don't even want to mention that project anymore, ever. Like, there is a huge stark difference between them like hinting at that display's progress and like all the things in it, and then after I started making videos about them and Apple and Valve, nothing. It drives me insane. It's probably my fault, but yeah. Oh, another thing I do really believe, by the way, like very high percentage belief that Meta is working with Imagine as well. A big reason why I believe that is So this is C Bright. This is I've talked about C Bright before. This was like a version of Cambria they were testing that used, instead of mini LED, they were using micro OLED displays. And there's one thing that they really is really special about this that I want to note, because there's something. So this is the display right here. It shows like all the this might not show the resolution. There's another file that shows resolution here, but you see NT57950. That stands for Novatech. So when it's talking about this micro OLED display, it's talking about the actual Novatech device driver IC, or display driver IC, sorry. Which is basically a piece of silicon that that handles all of the driver data, sends it between the motherboard and everything, and handles all that data. Well, a lot of micro OLED companies, they kind of tout themselves like, oh, our micro displays are very easy. They have their own integrated driver IC, so companies don't have to worry about that. Great, that's great for small companies. But the issue is big companies are big enough to where they want to make their own custom displays, and they want to also do things such as make their partner with companies to make their own custom driver ICs. And Novatech even confirmed late last year that they are working with Meta a lot, and they're doing a lot of cool stuff. And this driver IC does not exist. Like, it does not exist in anywhere in Novatech specifications. So it is a prototype driver IC from Novatech that is clearly being built, planned to work with a micro OLED display that Meta is working on. And Imagine is a company that their displays actually allow that you can use custom driver ICs. And in fact, that's also another benefit, is because when you have a giant wafer and you pattern on the displays, all the OLED on the displays afterwards, all on the backplanes all at once, a lot of companies will also put the driver ICs onto that backplane as well. But if they only do the displays, they can actually get better cost per value, because if they do the driver's IC on a different wafer, they can pick out more displays that are functional and non-functional, and like basically better yields. I'll just say that, better yields for everything by doing it that way. So yeah, all right, anyway, sorry, I talk about that stuff a lot, huh? Yeah. How likely do you rate that Varifocal will make it? So I think Varifocal might be pushing it still. Sorry, that was my fault. There are things I believe that Deckard will have that could later go into the progress of Varifocal. This is a patent called Correction Polarization Compensation Optic for display systems. And it's very similar to how the actual valve index has it. You might not know this. So if you have a valve index and you were to take it apart and you take out the display housing, the LCDs actually have an extra polarizer on top of that. And that polarizer, all it's doing is trying to hide the screen door effect of the low resolution display. And it actually does a very good job of that. And Valve wants to do stuff similar to that, where they want to actually have special polarizers on top of micro OLED displays, on top of the actual display panel. They call it a polarization compensation optic, so that the light, before it goes into the actual lenses, like a pancake lenses, that'll come out very uniform and very beautiful. So by the time it reaches your eyes, it's going to be very, very clear, very clear. So I think that's going to be the first stuff we see in like headsets like Apple and Deckard, are these things like the again, it's similar to the where did I put it? Did I lose it? Wait, it's very similar to this, what I was showing earlier on the stream. The stuff, these polarization compensation optics are very similar to what I showed you, right? Except it's just like one layer. It's when you start stacking layers and adding a voltage to them that they become varifocal. That's the only difference between this. So I think we'll start with compensation optics, and then we'll eventually make it to varifocal. So. How much light is lost through a polarization compensation filter? I don't think much, because this is also acting as a polarizer. And actually, by doing this, I think Facebook did some research on this. I had to pull up the Ars Technica. Hold up. So Facebook actually did a research and published a research on this. This right here, holographic optics for thin and lightweight virtual reality. And they talk about using pancake optics, but they remove a layer of the pancake optics. This would probably require a whole video explaining, but they remove a layer that's in most pancake optics and replace it with a holographic optic, which again, where'd I put it? All right, got it. What I was just holding up, right? They put one of those, makes the uniformity even better. So when it goes through the pancake optic system, it's very beautiful, very nice. I also, my last news video, I talked about how Samsung and Microsoft were using hologram technology, which I believe is totally holographic optic stuff, similar to what I'm showing you right here. So, yeah, it actually makes the quality better, which is why you need high brightness displays too, right? The micro OLED. I always talk about the 10,000 nits or whatever. The higher the nits, the more interesting optic systems you can have. Very important stuff. Brightness is very important. Anyway, let's continue on with more questions. Any news on micro LED? So micro LED, still far away. You're not going to see a VR headset with micro LED anytime soon. You might see some AR glasses, or like some very expensive AR glasses, like clear ones, eventually in the next 5 years. But there's still a lot of problems with micro LED that I don't see it ever being useful for VR, like immersive VR, or I think its applications are for see-through AR more than anything, and even then it's still got problems. So yeah, so that was everything from Fox. Good questions, Fox. They were great questions. I'm glad you were able to give me a chance to talk about Varifocal. I know I got people really excited about that, but again, when I reported on the Varifocal stuff, I was still very new to this stuff, and I'm sorry. I'm very sorry, but I think it's everything that every company wants. This, they really do want this stuff. They want it, and because every large company is working on this, we will be getting there. I think much faster than... I feel like hardware progress the last 5 years has felt very stagnated, right? It feels like all the headsets, like, very small jumps in technology between them. Well, that was because there was only like a couple, even like really just Meta. The biggest company, Meta, was the only one really pushing it, and they were pushing on the cheap VR hardware stuff, right? But now we have literally every large company looking into pushing the boundaries, because they all want to get to AR. But you can't get to AR until you go through VR first. So all the VR technology is going to feel like big jumps between hardware. And that's why I think hardware is going to be very exciting in this next 5 years. Did you talk about holographic displays? I'll save that for another day. Sorry. It's very complicated too. There is some really cool stuff related to holographic displays though, being worked on. I even saw some patents related to making the pixels on a micro OLED display like lenticular, so you can do like holograms, which is sick. Never really, I mean, makes sense. Seems very hard to do, but that'd be amazing. Light field displays. Light field displays is what I'm trying. Someone patented a light field micro OLED display and how to make it. And it was the company I was talking about earlier that works, I believe works with all these tier 1 companies and the military and stuff. So companies are working on that as well. But I won't talk about light field displays today. Sorry. What happened to you being able to try out the... Okay, so this is asking about the Pimax 12K. So What happened to you being able to try out the Pimax 12K in one of their Florida offices? Is that ever going to happen, or did something happen that make them not able to give a demo? Honestly, I have no freaking idea. I literally have no idea. Pimax was supposed to show off a lot of a couple prototypes of not just the 12K, but another in that series, because it's like a new, is it called the Reality series, I think now? So Pimax is not just making the 12K, they're also making like lower end in that series that have very similar stuff, and they were going to show them off at CES this year, but they didn't, and things happened related to COVID and like their booth or something. I don't know, but one of the employees that was going to CES that is from Europe, I believe, he was staying in Florida up until CES, and they were talking about doing some private demos in Florida. I don't know what happened to that. I never got actually invited. In fact, I never even got emailed even when I was at CES for Pimax or anything. They didn't want to talk to me, I guess. I even tweeted at them and emailed them, got no response. But is the product coming? I do believe they're working on it. I just think their PR team is garbage, honestly. I think they have pretty good engineers and stuff, but I think their PR team is really just the worst in the industry. They don't know how to handle anything related to announcements, PR, issues. Like the CES thing was an issue and made people think that device don't even exist. Yeah, Pimax is just a mess. Like they have good funding, they have some good engineers, but their PR team is god awful. That's all I got to say. Yes. I just wish HTC released Focus 3 for general use. Yo, you mean like a consumer Focus 3? I don't think HTC will ever make a useful consumer product ever again. Honestly, I don't think they will. I think if you're interested in consumer headsets, you should forget about HTC. Honestly, that's my honest opinion. I think they're actually going to struggle a lot in the next few years, even more they have been, because they were getting pushed around by Meta being a thing, right? But now every other large company is coming in, and I don't really know what HTC will have over these other companies. And their biggest money maker was honestly the Chinese market. Well, both ByteDance and Tencent are working on creating ginormous XR hardware and ecosystem teams. I don't think HTC is going to make it, guys, honestly. I don't think they will at all. The optics... Yep, the optics freaking suck in the Vive Pro 2 and the Focus. The optics in the Vive Pro 2 are garbage. Terrible. I made a whole review on the HTC Vive Pro 2, but terrible. Terrible optics. Ruins the entire headset. Well, one of the reasons. There's actually multiple reasons I didn't like that headset. But I think the optics was really the most glaring issue. Very badly designed. It might not even be in the optics were badly designed. It might have been the mass production company that making it just screwed up or something. I don't know. They're terrible. They're really terrible. Is HTC... Yeah, I've actually been using... This has been my my main headset for the past couple weeks, mainly because of VR chat, getting OSC support before I was banned. But I still like the Vive Pro and the Vive Pro Eye. Would I recommend people buy it today? No, but I'm saying I like that headset more, the one I just held up, more than the Vive Pro 2, which I don't think should happen. That doesn't make sense. Anyway, do you think there is work for Windows Mixed Reality to work on Linux? Besides that one program that only lets you have so okay, here's one thing I can't talk about this. So I got information today about what Microsoft is working on, but I can't talk about it yet. I gave some hints last week's news video of what I thought was they were working on, and I was on the right track. So eventually I'll be able to tell more information on that. But Windows Mixed Reality, like the VR headsets are, that program's kind of changing, I guess. I don't really know how to say it, but the Windows Mixed Reality headsets that exist today, will they work on Linux? Probably not. Like, unless there's a lot more tweaks from the community, which does happen, but I don't think you should expect Windows to support a competing platform, honestly. Like, I think they, I mean, even with their headset they're working on, it's going to run some version of Windows. That's always been the importance for them, so. Brad Chan just leaked something about XR VR compatibility. I don't think it's Xbox related though. Sorry guys. Anyway, again, when I'm able to talk about it, I will talk about it. Probably on Twitter, I'll tweet about it. But for now, there's reasons I can't talk about yet. So just trust me on that one. What is Cambria? Oh, someone doesn't know what Cambria is. I don't know what it is, not the font. Is Cambria the new Facebook headset? Was it announced or is it just Datamine codename? Cambria is actually not the Datamine codename. It's the official codename that was announced by Meta. We were calling it Sea Cliff up until this point. It's just Meta's next headset. It's purely the focus on the headset is VR through AR. Flip that, AR through VR. That's like the big thing that they're going to probably be pushing the most, other than obviously all the social features that it has. But yeah, that's gonna be I think the biggest difference between Cambria and their other headsets is they're really gonna be pushing the AR capabilities in the computer vision. So yeah. All right, that's actually all my emails. So if you have any questions in chat, I will spend, let's see, how long have I been streaming now? Okay, I'm gonna, well, wait, what is this? Okay, so I have like 30 minutes left. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad I finished all my emails. If you have any other questions, totally go for it in chat right now. I know I wasn't like reading, I was reading chat here and there, but now it's gonna be all about chat. So, man, once Sony drops the PSVR 2, that'll be hype. Yeah, I think that, again, I really do think the PSVR 2 is going to do very well. Yeah, I have no worries about it. Even though, I mean, it's got eye tracking, so that already makes me excited for it. I said last year, and you can go back to my HTC Vive Pro 2 video. I said that because HTC released an $800 headset called the Vive Pro 2 and it didn't have built-in eye tracking, that next year this thing is going to look pathetic because of that. And we're already seeing that PSVR 2 and Cambria are both going to have built-in eye tracking, and I know one of them is going to be much cheaper than Vive Pro 2, so that prediction is coming true very, very easily. So had to use an alt to get a straight answer from you? What? Wait, was that you? Or you were a cute girl. Gyarados, you're an idiot. Did I get my deck yet? My deck actually literally comes tomorrow. Hold up. Literally tomorrow. That's actually something I do want to talk about. Dang it, why do you have to ask me that? I will be making a lot of content, I believe, on the deck and like getting VR running on it. I mean, it goes so well with what my channel has been about with Deckard and everything. It's like literally impossible to not spend a lot of time getting VR running on it. But I do want to mention that it's probably gonna be a little surprising to you because you're gonna see videos of me running different VR apps and getting it optimized to run as best I can with different VR apps. But you're gonna notice I'm gonna be running Windows on it. The main reason is not because I want to run Windows on the Steam Deck. It's because, so Proton, which is a compatibility layer that allows you to run Windows games and apps on Steam, works great for VR apps. Like, it works the same as non-VR apps. But the issue is Steam VR is still in a very rough state on Linux. Like, you can definitely spend time on especially a more older build for Steam VR on Linux, but it's definitely not updated as well as it is for Windows. So I'm gonna be using Windows purely for my experiments. But I did want to mention that they literally just released the Windows drivers yesterday, and they're not going to support like, if you have issues on Windows on deck, they're not going to help you, which is cool. I like that. But one thing I thought that was kind of interesting about the drivers, so the GPU drivers for the Aerith, which is another codename for the Van Gogh, which is the AMD APU inside of it, those Windows drivers actually date back all the way to November 2020. Obviously, it was on a prototype board and everything, but I just thought that was kind of cool that, like, in the actual patch notes in the driver files, you can see that APU being prototyped all the way 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago. So, you expected better performance? Yeah, I know it's probably not the best. I've come to terms with that, but I still want to mess with it and spend a lot of time with people that are also very interested in messing with it and getting some at least cool experiments out of it, you know? Yeah. ALVR works on Linux now. I don't really want to get... ALVR is still very experimental on Linux, so I'm... Again, the only reason I want to use Windows is because it's just gonna be, no matter what, the most stable over everything else right now. So I'm gonna use that. I'm not gonna, again, it's not like I want I only want to use Windows on it. Like, it's kind of pointless to whatever. Oh, I already have a friend who made a video of him running Climby on SteamOS. So you can do it, but yeah. It's definitely not hardware optimized for VR, like they've said. You can hack things to get it working, but it's not optimized for VR. It is a peak to what they're working on, though. Gabe Knowles even said that at least he's hinted that the APU and, like, all the work done for that device was both ways R&D for getting stuff to run a standalone headset, which really, again, really begs the fact that it's probably likely, I'm not fully sure, but it's probably likely that Valve would release a headset with the APU standalone stuff as an attachment first, and then as the technology progresses, then start looking into fully built in. It all depends kind of on AMD at this point, or Valve might just wait for things to get better. But it's clear that it's clear to me that Valve has a prototype x86 APU of some sort, which is why we have them testing a Deckard with SteamOS, which, you know, I've talked about that files that were leaked. Oh, by the way, actually, I have to talk. This is something new related to that. So, we recently found all the old firmware, not firmware, all the old images for SteamOS, all the backup images for SteamOS up until, like, I want to say 2020 as well. Which, by the way, I also made a video about this, but SteamOS 3 is codenamed Holodeck, but yeah. But no, that's not what I want to talk about. Every single image that is on this official backup image, even the ones that are pre-release and, like, all the prototype ones for like developers that were testing it, none of them had those Deckard Python files that would report the that would actually report the thermals for the headsets, which seems to be a Qualcomm SoC. So that means we are so freaking lucky, guys. We are so lucky. So I got those files from a firmware image that a Valve employee named Plagman, he uploaded accidentally to a more public forum to help another dev out recover their image. And he seemingly, instead of linking a version that was totally safe and totally nullified, he seemed to have actually made an image of what was on his deck at the time, which left in that Deckard Python files. The fact that he did that is the only reason why we know so much about Deckard. And like the fact that it like worked 2 chips to get, like, it's insane how lucky that is. Unlucky for him, because I really do feel bad knowing that now. Like I was really assuming that if I download these really old versions of SteamOS, we would find those files, but none of them had it. Just the one that Plagman uploaded. It's freaking crazy. It is insane. I'll get a haircut soon. So yeah, very lucky that we have that those files. I'm gonna pull them up again just in case you don't know what I'm talking about. I keep them. They are like gold to me. Yes. These ones right here. These little files right here. I know they're very hard to read. These ones. These are literally the gold mine of Deckard right here. So we're very lucky we have these. Anyway. What will it take for Linus to take a... You mean like Linus from Linus Tech Tips? I don't know. I don't really watch that many YouTubers, actually. So I'm not really sure what his problems with XR are, but I'm guessing the reason why he doesn't, if he doesn't do VR, is probably because of the content. I know he's a very PC enthusiast. I know he only plays, from what I heard, he only plays Beat Saber on his Index. He's not interested in Quest. Yeah, I don't know. What if these files were just his personal... what if these files were just his own personal tests with... I don't think so. So these files are... They're Python files for a system that they're building in Python, called FoxNet Stats. That I couldn't find anything on that on the web. But and also Valve uses Python to do stuff like system updates. Like they built their system updater in Python, so it's something they are actually building, whether it's for prototypes, and they name everything Deckard, and they have all the core modules Deckard and everything. So it's not a Quest 2 for sure, but it is likely using a we don't know what SoC the Qualcomm is, but it's all the issue with Qualcomm SoCs is they all have like the same amount of cores, like every single mobile SoC. So we can't tell if it's XR2, we can't tell if it's like a newer thing. It's just we only know the amount of cores that they're tracking, and it's the same as every other chip. They just make them faster or better usually. So is large FOV possible in mini LED micro OLED? So one thing about the 4K display that I really want in a VR headset I talk about, the 4K micro OLED, is it's very strange because it's much bigger than most micro OLEDs because it's 2 inches in diagonal. You could definitely get a very good FOV out of 2 inches. In fact, I think that's what Cambria... I think Cambria is going to be 2.1 inches. mini LED. And they're gonna get a very slight increase of FOV over the Quest 2 that they've said. They don't seem to be focusing too much on that, but I think Valve will want to focus on getting like at least an FOV of index or greater. I think they care about that more. Which is another thing. When you increase the FOV of a headset, you have to also think about the PPD, which if you have a 4K headset, you can expand the FOV without losing the pixels per degree, which is like the overall clarity, right? Usually when if you could have a high resolution, but in a smaller display, but you won't be able to get a very good FOV out of it. But at the same time, you can also get a bigger display, which gives you more FOV, but generally those bigger displays are not going to be able to reach higher resolutions compared to OLED on silicon or something like that. So there's a lot of balances you have to make to get the perfect high FOV, high resolution, clarity, and all that stuff. Size does matter. It does matter a bit, honestly, but I think it won't matter. So the reason why size matters is because we're waiting on optics technology to make better advances and breakthroughs. When optics systems get way better and more complex, which is also another reason why we need displays to become brighter and more high resolution, then we don't have to worry as much about the size of the display. And we are seeing progress in that, even with headsets now, where you are seeing even the LCDs and mini LED displays, they are getting smaller. So, and that's because the optics are getting better. Like we're using pancake optics, for example, which does help with make displays smaller than what we would be able to do with Fresnel. Yeah. I'm a wealth of knowledge. I do my best. I try not to make my channel only about... So here's the thing. I don't like to go on Reddit whenever I post a rumor, because I'm very terrified I'll find a thread that's reposting my rumor, and if I look at the comments, I'll want to feel depressed. But I don't want to just be a rumor channel. I also want to explain the technologies in these rumors, so people at least get something out of it other than this may or may not happen. So I can be like, oh, this headset's gonna have micro OLED, and then end the video. I don't want to do that. I want to explain all the reasons why that's a good idea, all the benefits, all the cons, pros and cons, how the technology is made, how it works, what lenses you need to pair with it, and why. Like it's a rabbit hole. It honestly is, and that's why I really enjoy doing my channel the way I do it, because it's more like a hobby channel, and it's very niche. It's very niche, honestly. I can't believe that I have the successes that I do with this kind of content, but it's kind of my goals for the channel is, yeah, I obviously it's based around rumors and leaks, but it's also explaining the technologies in those. So, yeah. Have you heard anything lately about Deca Gear? I don't know. I think that project's pretty dead. Like it might not be, but it really doesn't feel like a project that is going anywhere. Deca Gear. Usually when I heard the rumors that they are transitioning to an NFT thing, like that's usually not a good sign for a startup generally, because I don't know. It's just not. I don't really have much faith in the Deca Gear project, and I don't think people are gonna care about Deca Gear after Cambria comes out, to be honest. So yeah, not even just Cambria, but like a lot of headsets coming out. Deca Gear even said that they would have if they did release the device, it would have had been way more expensive than they advertised. So yeah, I don't know. Even the hardware that they did announce, which has almost been 2 years, I think, since the announcement. All that hardware is, some of it's outdated. Deca dead. Really, it's starting to look like 2023 will be the year of micro OLED, right? Not micro LED, micro OLED. Yeah, I agree with that. I think 2023. I mean, Apple's gonna have micro OLED. I think that's the headset that the Apple headset is definitely going to be the one that gets people talking about that display more than anything. I've been trying to push that display technology for a year now, like talking about it, but when the Apple releases with that, people are really gonna talk about it. Like, it's not even close. Meta's working really hard too. Meta's working really hard as well on micro OLED. They're constantly hiring engineers with a focus on micro OLED. You can, if you watch their hiring pages, it's like every week there's a new micro OLED, not just research engineer, but like making sure that they can mass produce it and stuff. And yeah, so even though that Cambria, the C Bright, which is the micro OLED version of Cambria, doesn't seem to be happening, they are still working really hard to release a headset with micro OLED. And I think it's because Apple is releasing one, right? If Apple did not release a headset with micro OLED, I doubt Meta would push so hard to do one. So, you know, that's the exact reason why I'm excited for Apple's headset, because they're going to be forcing companies like Meta and other ones to be like, oh crap, we need to do this, you know? We need to be way more competitive here. So that's the main reason I like the Apple jumping in the ring more than anything. Will Cambria have supply issues? So I think you're talking about the supply chain and, like, you know, the chip shortage, which the chip shortage is not really related to. This is one thing that people don't understand about the chip shortage. The chip shortage is not totally related to factories not working. It's the fact that demand is so high, like from consumers. It's ridiculously high, like insanely high, and the fabs we have built are just not enough for this insane demand. But even with chip shortage does not really affect the large companies that we're talking about compared to. The chip shortage really affects the smaller companies like Tundra, for example, and like companies that are smaller than Meta, Apple. Like, yeah, maybe prices are raising for the fabs to these higher tier companies, but they're not being decimated from the supply chain. It's all the small companies. So Cambria is not having issues with supply. Cambria has been a multi-year effort. They talk to these companies way in advance to make sure they can produce them. So it's not an issue, I would say. Apple is not in the OpenXR consortium. Yeah, that whole if they do announce the headset during WWDC, that's gonna be the most fascinating. I don't know how that's gonna go. It's bizarre. It's so bizarre. I honestly think it's crazy if they don't at least try to add support for OpenXR for the headsets. I really think it would be crazy. I know they're Apple, but like, holy crap, man! Like, I don't know. I can't think like how Apple does, because Apple's just so weird. My brain never can understand Apple sometimes. So, having been into CES and in the VR space a lot, what do you think is the most important external VR accessory? Haptics, full body tracking. Full body tracking. Actually, I would say finger tracking first, and then full body tracking. 100%. Yeah. It goes finger tracking, full body tracking, eye and face tracking. So eye tracking is kind of weird, because if eye tracking is talking about like dynamic varifocal, or not varifocal, dynamic foveated rendering, then that's very important. It probably should be first, but like that's not an external accessory anymore, so that doesn't count. But like, yeah, haptics, I actually don't really. I don't really have much, I think haptics technology is still pretty behind compared to everything else in its usefulness. I know some people will really disagree with me on that, but I have the full B haptics suit and everything. I don't really want to wear it much, but full body tracking, I will put on trackers any chance I get. I love full body tracking. I think it's great. Yeah, I really hope that Apple supports OpenXR, even if they publicly have not shown any reason to. But because that, God, I mean, literally every single person, every single company, Kronos keeps just getting more people in the consortium. God, I hope they don't do that. That would be so, but such an Apple thing to do that it makes me cringe thinking about it. God, I don't know. That's why I like when I hear, like when I find these breadcrumbs of Apple and Valve having some ties and like, just, oh man, I hope that they can instill some confidence into Apple to at least support that of anything. Index tracking isn't, so I always prefer index tracking. And even though, like, okay, so I'm gonna be honest, like, even index finger tracking is not amazing, but it's using a controller. I like it way more than without controllers for VR. Maybe AR, it's not as much of a big deal. But for VR, having something in your hand that can vibrate or control how your character moves in the space, that's way more useful than non-controller finger tracking, which mostly is about navigating UI elements. And like, I've seen some experiments where, like, hey, you point and you shoot a gun and it'll teleport you, but like, no one wants to do teleporting in VR games anymore. So I really do like the controller way of finger tracking more because of that. So, and also, you know, and also if you grab an object, if you're using camera finger tracking and you grab an object in real life, or not in real life, in VR, you don't get any tactile feedback. You're just kind of holding air. It doesn't feel as good as holding something. I think they both have their... So the thing is, I would like every device to support both. That's my dream, because I think that both have their own benefits, like, that are totally different. Totally different from each other. So, I think it's important to support both, but for now I prefer definitely holding something that is doing finger tracking, and I hope it gets better than just this. Yeah, pressing buttons is very helpful. Is Cambria standalone? Yes, Cambria is still standalone. From all the device trees we have, it's still running an XR2 chip. I know Meta's working really hard, really hard, and as fast as they can with Qualcomm to make a new chip for them. Similar to how Microsoft is also working with Qualcomm to make a custom chip for their device in the future. Just don't think it's going to be in time for Cambria. Don't know. Depends if they want. Depends when they want to release it, the headset. But it's really crazy how I was told they're working so hard on it. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, it's one of the biggest focuses for them, and they're spending a lot of money on it. Yeah. VR is real life. True. How will it be able to connect with Steam VR? Probably the same as the Quest 2 connects. The one thing I'm very nervous about Cambria is, you know, it has face and eye tracking, but will Oculus runtime on PCs have a way to access that? I don't know. I doubt they will. So I'm very nervous that people that want to buy a Cambria for PC VR, they won't even be able to use face and eye tracking. That's kind of my biggest worry for Cambria, and it seems like something that would totally happen. Like, we barely got AirLink. Like, people... and AirLink is a freaking controversy in its own. Like, I don't know. I don't understand Meta's stance on PC VR. And like, it makes no sense. Everything they do, everything they do is like, we don't want to support the PC platform. We want to pretend it doesn't exist, right? Yet at the same time, they release Airlink. My brain doesn't get it at all. Just makes sense. All right, how long am I streaming? We have like 9 minutes left, and I'll probably end it. So. Oh, that's true. OpenXR, yeah, the extensions. Yeah, that's true. That's actually, yeah, you bring a good point. Yeah, OpenXR extensions can be supported by anything. That is very true. I didn't even think about that. So yeah, maybe they don't have to. Huh. I mean, I need a new Steam VR beta. Like, can Valve, can you throw me another bone, please? Please, God. Please. Oh, this is not the right one. I need to do more. It's been a while. Come on. All right. Well, Carmack, yeah, Meta doesn't care. Carmack does. Carmack doesn't really do much, from what I understand, anymore. Even I even think Jason Rubin doesn't really do much anymore. I think I've heard. But Carmack is like an advisor, and yeah, I don't really know what he does. Like, I think he just kind of keeps an eye on things, and that's kind of it. I don't really think he's a driving force for what they do anymore. Which is why he always seems frustrated in his talks during Meta Connect, or whatever they call it. Because he is, from what I understand, is Carmack is someone that likes to have his hand in things and control things, but he's not getting that, so he's probably just, yeah. But he's getting a paycheck either way. He's more focused on AI right now. He's very into AI, so. How many years off do you think we're from consumer Varifocal? Not that far off, honestly. I don't think it's that far. I think one of the biggest things that companies are investing in is these lens technologies. I know Apple and Meta are both hiring people that are very familiar with varifocal lenses, and like this, that's why they bought Imagine Optics, even if Imagine Optics clearly had some issues with mass production. I don't think Meta bought that company anymore to ruin the competition. I really do think at this, because what I heard from that person, I made a short on that, is all these companies want varifocal. That's all I gotta say. They all want that. They all it's the holy grail of lens technology, not just varifocal, but like prescription correction. Like that's all the holy grail of XR. So they're working hard on it. Not even really for VR. They're not really working on it because of VR. They're working on it because they need it for AR. For the dream consumer AR glasses that are not happening for like 10 years. So, but yeah, you know. Nice, Ivor. Do you think you need a Steam VR beta? Think about the poor macOS Steam VR users that we got 2 betas total. Yeah. That's interesting that you still use macOS for VR. I'm curious what your system is. Cause I always assumed that you needed except there was one Intel Mac that totally had support for Steam VR, and that was the iMac Pro. During the legendary WWDC, that Valve was literally on stage at an Apple event. Still blows my mind that happened. But you would need an external GPU for a lot of other ones, and that's why they added support for external GPUs. Which again, that is not a very Apple thing. They added support for external GPUs because they wanted people to start thinking about developing for VR because of Valve. what Valve was doing. So like Apple does things that you wouldn't expect them to do sometimes, and yeah, usually Valve is involved when they do those weird things. Showed some Darth Vader. I swear to God, if Valve ever, so let's say it's just like how Steam Deck, right? When they first announced Steam Deck, they invited a bunch of YouTubers and press to their office, and they got to, you know, talk with people. If I ever got invited to something like that, I would beg them to give more information on Vader, to the point maybe that they would show me what it looked like. Like that is the one. So they in their office they have a whole like long shelf of all their prototypes, from the way old one to that uses like smartphone displays and it looks weird, all the way to Index, right? But Vader's not in that at all. I'm dying to know what it looked like and everything. I want to see how close I was to guessing the specifications for that project. And I would beg them like crazy to know more about it. Anyway. If the Facebook's metaverse actually succeeds, do you think platforms like VRChat will become more for enthusiasts or gravitate? So I think VRChat is, honestly, VRChat is going to always be for enthusiasts, for sure. I think it's for enthusiasts now. I think it will be forever. I think that Apple and Meta are gonna do their very vanilla type metaverses or social platforms in VR, and they're gonna do well for their audiences. Like you're not gonna see a 35-year-old guy that spends I don't know, spends his day watching sports games. You're not gonna see him hop into VRChat and become an anime girl, right? He's more likely to hop into one of these very professional sterile. It reminds me of, so I remember a long time ago, like maybe 10 years ago now, my dad, who had an iPhone, was complaining when Apple, so Apple had like a big UI overhaul design where things were like, so the old Apple iOS, let me see if I can find it. So yeah, like, so the old Apple iOS, I remember, like, this is a memory I have, and I remember. This is what all the icons and stuff looked like back then, right? Like this. And eventually it became more like very flat and like very like, you know, like a lot of purples, a lot of like pinks and blues. I remember when he updated to that, he was like, is there any way to go back? This looks very unprofessional, very, very bad. That is the kind of people that are not going to go into VRChat, right? like iOS 7, yeah, right? Like those are the people that are not going to go in VRChat ever and like spend a lot of time in it. But stuff like Horizons, when it becomes not, I think Horizon's still way too uncanny valley even for these people. But like, yeah, I think they're not gonna ever do VRChat. But I think VRChat's gonna always do well. It's a cultural thing. But yeah, that's the best example I have is that transition with my dad and him hating it. So, yeah. Bradley, can you make my Valve Index wireless? I keep breaking my cable. I'm gonna if you're willing to pay for shipping, Zyber, I have a extra cable that I don't need. Actually I have 2 extra cables, but one of them I can give to you if you pay for shipping. Yeah, anyway, I think that's it. I think we hit the 2-hour mark. Yeah, so that's pretty much all the questions I wanted to answer. I hope I answered a lot of things that made sense. I think it was pretty productive. I feel like I answered a lot, actually. So thank you everyone for getting me. Let me see. I don't think I'm at 100K, but I'm like so close to it. Yeah, I'm 80 subs away. Thank you for supporting this channel. I appreciate it. Will I do anything for 100K? I don't really know. It's kind of been like, it's kind of just a number to me, like, honestly. But I am very thankful for the support. This week will probably be a lot of experimentation with Steam Deck. And if there's any more news, maybe we'll get a news video. There's still not enough news for me to do another news video, so we might not get another Brad news video this week. So sorry. It's just been quiet. Is the Vive Pro 2 worth it if you only pay $400? Oh my god. I don't know. I really think the optics in the Vive Pro 2 are really scuffed. So I don't know. It's hard. Yeah. Now you must do a giveaway. I don't have anything to give away, honestly. I'm saving up money for all these freaking VR headsets that are planning to come out in the next 12 months. Oh god. Oh dear god. Alright. Yeah. YouTube's always acting up. Vive Pro 2, or Vive Pro I index or just wait? I would just wait, honestly. I would wait. Like, I would wait. I use my index mostly. I've been using Vive Pro I, again, because of VR chat stuff. But I really hate my Vive Pro I because of the audio. The microphone is terrible, and it's an embarrassment when you go into a social platform and you need to use an external microphone because it's so bad. When I'm not in a social app, I use my index, and even when using my index, I'm at the point with my index where I really feel like I need something newer. The hardware has gotten to that point, even for me. So, yeah, All right. Thank you, everyone. I'm gonna head off. I hope you all have a great weekend. Yeah. Thank you. Have a great weekend. Have a great weekend. Bye bye.